welcome to this really sunny ass day. I'm a little bit too much in the sun, but I still like it. I need my daily dose of vitamin D. So I really wanted to quickly jump into this paper that I recently read, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So in this paper, they basically show aversive images to participants, and they ask the participants to kind of remember negative personal memories. And this in study one, participants have to ask themselves, what is it that I am feeling right now? And in study two, the participants have to ask it to themselves in third person. So they're literally asking themselves, what is Shubhi feeling right now? And what's interesting is that study actually demonstrated that people who were talking to themselves in third person, they actually had a reduced activation in their medial prefrontal cortex, which is basically an area in the brain which is known for self-referential processing. So whenever you think of the self, your medial prefrontal cortex is activated. But when people were talking to themselves in third person, there was actually a reduced activation in this area of the brain. And that's really interesting because what this study is basically saying is that by talking to yourself in third person, you are actually kind of creating a psychological distance with yourself. So, for example, when I say, I am feeling like a failure, there is a process of identification and of me feeling every time I say that. But when I speak to myself in third person, it's like speaking to someone else or thinking about the way I would for someone else, a friend, a parent, right? And so I was like, this is really interesting because what this basically is showing is that slight linguistic shift can actually influence the way you regulate your emotions. And that for me is crazy. This got me thinking a little bit more about how we always have an inner voice and it guides us in our moment to moment decisions, our moment to moment reflections. And so I was like, okay, for example, let's say that I really, really want to be healthy. I want to create a relationship with my body. And let's say I've decided that for the next month, I am going to run 30 minutes a day. And this is real. Like, this is something that I am actually trying. Now, if I were to fail one of these days, my natural tendency is to be like, what the heck? Like, how could I have not met my habit? I am not reaching my goal. I am a failure. And for the next few days, I am just like, I'm not doing it because I become really demotivated. I spiral. I really start to spiral. And when I am speaking, this inner voice, I am so identified with that feeling. And so, what the study is saying is that if I were to actually talk to myself in a third person, so if I'm like, Shubhi, why did you do this, Shubhi? Even saying that feels really weird to me, then it would be easier for me to create that distance. Another way of looking at it, and this is the way that I'm probably going to try to incorporate in my own life more, is actually labeling that inner voice with another name. So for me, saying Shuvi might not feel as natural, but if I were to call it the ego or the big bad wolf, I don't know why that came up to my head, but if I were to call that negative inner voice something and label it and be able to identify it, I feel like it would be a better process for me. I think it would help create that distance. It would be easier on myself because a lot of times we go through the day and where we're like so harsh on ourselves, and that voice is so hard to identify. But if we get into the habit of labeling it either with your third person name or your name or through a different name that you've created for it, it's going to help you kind of get out of that old identity that you no longer want to be and step into the new version, the new identity that you want to be. And this is a tool that I think is very, very cool. And I think it's amazing that it's actually backed by research as well. So yeah, that is what I have for you guys today. I hope this was exciting, and I'd love to know if you guys are going to name your kind of inner voice or label it, or are you going to start speaking to yourself in third person? I'd love to know your thoughts. I've always feel like there's something to always learn from other people. So yeah, bye.